Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. In today's episode of American Farming, we'll talk about how 135 tons of soybeans are produced by American farmers, so let's get right into it. Minnesota and Indiana are the centers of soybean farming in the US. The lush green fields located in these regions are the sources of millions of tons of soybeans that are cultivated and harvested every year. According to a 2021 statistic, nearly 91 million hectares in the United States are reserved for soybean cultivation, which produces somewhere around 135 million tons of soybeans annually. And this number makes sense, since the US is one of the two largest soybean producers in the world. But when and how does the farming process start? Soybean farming typically begins around late April or early May, when farmers initiate the process by loosening and turning the soil, also known as tilling. It's at this stage that soybeans are mechanically sowed at a rate of 130,000 seeds per acre, which then allows the process of germination to begin. And unlike high-maintenance crops, soybeans don't require a lot to germinate. Instead, it takes a total of only 85 days to plant and harvest these dicots. Before we proceed, let's take a closer look at the plantation process. The soybean planting machines are specifically designed to sow seeds at a predetermined depth and position in the soil. There's another agricultural machine responsible for spraying defensive pesticides and insecticides, which kill pests such as beetles and control weeds that could potentially harm or contaminate the soybeans. Once this step is done, the farmers wait for around 3 weeks before moving on to the next stage, adding fertilizer. Fertilizer provides the necessary macronutrients that soybeans require for optimum growth, such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, as well as micronutrients like boron, iron, magnesium, and zinc. At this stage, it's also ensured that the soil pH levels remain between 5.5 and 7.0 for the maximum absorption of these nutrients. During this time, soybeans are growing through two essential stages, the vegetative stage and the reproductive stage. During the vegetative stage, the plant emerges from the soil and starts to flower. In the reproductive stage, the soybean starts maturing until it's fully ready to be harvested. During the growth stage, it's extremely crucial to watch over and safeguard the soybean plants. Besides ensuring a high and profitable yield, this step is necessary because, at this point, the farmers have already made major investments in seeds, pest treatments, and operation expenses. But apart from using pesticides and fungicides, there isn't a lot of work involved in this stage, especially since soybean plants self-pollinate, so they aren't too high maintenance. Another agricultural technique practiced here is crop rotation, which means growing a series of different types of crops in the same area across a sequence of growing seasons. Crop rotation not only improves soil health, but also reduces pest pressure, disease-carrying residues, and the reliance of crops on one set of nutrients. So farmers alternate soybeans with crops like maize and wheat, instead of planting it as a continuous monocrop, which has a much lower yield. Farmers have to wait for 2 more months after the plantation to start harvesting, which happens somewhere around the end of September. During their growth cycle, soybean leaves change color. First, they turn yellow from green, and then finally brown and fall off, which is a sign that their pods are left exposed and the fields are ready for harvest. And this stage is made much easier and more efficient by the use of hundreds of large harvesting machines that arrive in the soybean fields. Most commonly, these machines are called combines, each of which performs multiple functions during the harvesting process. First, it cuts and gently collects the soybean plants, since the seed coat of soybeans is susceptible to mechanical damage. Then the combine separates the beans from their pods and transfers them into a holding tank, emptying them into a grain truck or wagon. From there, they're immediately sold or transported to a grain dealer or storage facility for further processing. When we talk about the types of harvested soybean, the yellow soybean is the most common soybean crop in the US. It's also the yellow soybean that later transforms into the most common soy products in the country, such as tofu and soy milk. Other types of soybean crops include green, black, white, and red soybeans, which are also grown and harvested in considerable amounts. Now, if you're wondering what exactly happens to the 135 tons of harvested soybeans, there are multiple uses for this beneficial crop. In the US, nearly 78% of soybeans are used as animal feed, mainly for poultry, but a considerable amount is also fed to livestock for meat and dairy production. The United States exports nearly 45 million tons of soybeans every year. Between 2020 and 2021 alone, it made over $700 million from soybean exports to Mexico and over $400 million from exports to Japan and Germany. Currently, the soybean export value has reached a whopping $25.7 billion. Besides contributing to exports in animal nutrition, soybeans become part of the food industry. Soybean oil is the most commonly used vegetable in the US, hence it's sold as vegetable oil in stores. Nearly 52.3% of it goes to the food industry, in products and on menus. Soybean oil is also used in the production of things with industrial purposes like adhesives, lubricants, and rubber. Moreover, it's further used in the production of cooking oil, biodiesel, bioheat, and non-toxic industrial supplies like paints and cleaners. Besides vegetable oil, organic food-grade soybeans are utilized in food products like tofu, tempeh, and soy milk, which is one of the most important fates of soybeans. Soy milk was originally known as an intermediate product in the manufacture of tofu. Although this plant-based milk has Chinese origins, it became popular in the US as well, somewhere during the 90s. So, how is it made? Traditionally, soy milk is made by soaking soybeans in water overnight, then grinding the beans with water added during grinding. This produces soy milk slurry, which is then boiled and stirred to increase the milk's nutritional value as well as its flavor. Bringing it up to a certain temperature also increases its shelf life by eliminating any harmful pathogens. In the US, soy milk production involves additional steps and machinery to remove or limit the beany flavor of the milk. The heated slurry then undergoes specialized sieves, which separates the fiber residue from the milk. The soy milk is then automatically processed, or in other words pasteurized, homogenized, sterilized, and slightly flavored. Finally, it's packed into bottles, ready to be sold or consumed. In the US, soy milk is the second most consumed plant milk since 2019. Besides being consumed on its own, soy milk can also be used to make vegan alternatives to dairy products, such as soy cream, soy yogurt, and soy-based cheese. Unsurprisingly, the uses of soybeans go far beyond unfermented food products. These protein-filled grains deliver a vegetarian option alongside essential amino acids and nutrients in many forms. For every 3.5 ounces of soybeans, you get over 18 grams of proteins, 8 grams of carbs, and 9 grams of fat, with 63% of the soybean content being water. According to an FDA-backed study, consuming 25 grams of soy protein daily as part of a diet low in saturated fat and cholesterol may reduce the risk of heart disease. Soybeans also contain soluble fibers that have been linked with improved gut health and reduced risk of colon cancer. If that wasn't convincing enough, soybeans contain a long list of vitamins and minerals such as folate, thiamine, and vitamin K1, all of which have key functions in the body. You'll also get the benefits of antioxidants and plant compounds like isoflavones, phytic acid, and saponins, which may help prevent breast and prostate cancer. You can add soybean to your diet in the form of unfermented soy products and swap them with your regularly used dairy products. Also, top your favorite salads with soy nuts for extra flavor, texture, and nutritional benefits. Regardless of the soybean use, for US soybean farmers, growing and harvesting this crop is no ordinary job. It's more of a passion, something they devote their entire lives to. Remember that the next time you enjoy a scrumptious and healthy soy dish. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. What are your thoughts on soybean farming? Let us know in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.